Hello, everyone. We're doing another interview with my great friend Jeremy Shaskus. He should be with us momentarily. He's a great saxophonist out of William Patterson, a fellow peer of mine, and he lives in Seattle, Washington, and he's a working musician there. Starting him now. And if you didn't get a chance, go check out that Tyshawn Sori interview. I just posted it on my Instagram page. I'm sure you guys would really learn a lot from him. We had a great discussion. Now just waiting on Jeremy. Just a moment. I use my iPad to communicate with him. Oh, it says Jeremy unable to join. Are we going to invite Quasi Music? Okay, let me see. That's actually Jeremy's main music brand.
Oh, hey, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you yet, though.
give me 1 second. Hey, by the way, I saw. Oh, there we go. Where am I? Where's the? Oh, fucking fuck.
We're live, man. Be careful.
I mean, fart. My bad. No,
You guys show me your camera.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I think what happened is I gotta flip this over. I got this really cool new. Oh, that's beautiful. Well, now it's upside down. I'm sorry about. And we're good. Yeah, dude. I saw the. I was watching the interview with Tyshawn. Heavyweight dude, and he seems like he's like really mellowed out, because I remember like William Patterson, he would like go around, not only play your shit back to you, but then identify everything that you were doing. Like I don't want to name like the smooth jazz cat, but when he was like starting to get into his stuff, he would play these like stupid 2-chord vamps and just sit on them for like ever and ever and ever. And I remember just like walking around and see Tyshawn, like I pretty much just say, hey man, you're doing the same thing. But at the same time, he was the guy that like showed me about metric modulation and stuff. So I don't know. I don't want to make it all about him. It was a great interview.
Down a little bit. We can't see you.
Oh.
There we go. Yeah. So you know, it's been a while since we talked the last time on camera. You know, you're out in Seattle. You're a working musician there. You play various different types of music, and you're also a composer, and you work on stuff. So tell us about how the scene is now in Seattle, now that COVID is kind of waning.
I have to choose my words very carefully about this, because there is a scene I know, and there are some really great musicians, but there's a lot, like everything, there's a lot of fluff. During the lockdown, I was playing like every other day with some people. Like I was working at least once or twice a week. I was playing out on the streets because like all the venues shut down during COVID. And so it was cool because I got to get to know like this older bass player named Michael Barnett, the old new school director, Dan Greenblatt. I mean, it was a time for innovation. I figured like a time for healing, because everybody's locked inside. You lose kind of like the connection with your own clicks and stuff, and people could connect via online. well, and then once I think like last year when they started opening up like jam sessions and started having some gigs and like non-live stream stuff, it was beautiful for like 3 weeks. And then people, this town's weird. It's like they want to, it's just bizarre because they wanted everybody who was super anal retentive about wearing a mask, social distancing and everything, right? In Seattle, they were the same people that were in the crowded bar with like not wearing a mask, getting way too drunk and like breathing on each other while like people were blowing into trumpets and saxophones and stuff. And what I've seen recently is that things have gotten a little bit more cliquish. Like it's always been, Seattle's weird because it's always been kind of cliquey, and you have like these little camps here because it's like the infrastructure in terms of the presentation with the press and everything is like a really limited source. It's like bottlenecked. Like Earshot Jazz Magazine in Seattle is the only place that really talks about jazz. Maybe the Seattle Times, but there's one source and there's like 5 people that you kind of got to go through, and so like the clickiness just like ended up getting amplified as soon as people stopped like hiding in their houses. It's like a year of being in timeout didn't help their attitudes. They're still kind of they can still be a little standoffish. Like I guess the way I phrase it is that the way the scene's changed is that it's become more obvious that the people who are like the power players, like the people who are organizing everything that you always see getting represented, which is like about 5 or 10 people through the main thing, like those people that are getting the main play via Earshot have gotten even more exclusionary and like more incestuous with how they're stuff. There's great, it can be, I'm trying to be positive here. So there's some beautiful stuff that happens, but most often or not, it can get kind of dark. I mean, Seattle's also, if you also look at Seattle, it's like a developing major city. It's not New York or Chicago or LA, where they have a history of like, they have a history of good music. Like you got Ray Charles coming out there, Quincy Jones, Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, even though he was more from like further up north where all the meth addicts are. But that like history of having like that internal community that's been like consistent is not as well developed as it is in as it is in like New York or New Jersey or even Philly, right? But you still get transplants and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about music scenes, unfortunately, they are very cliquey. Musicians are protective of their livelihoods, and it's only when you have a day job and you don't really care about how much money you're making for a gig that you can look at it objectively. Because even here in Burlington, Vermont, you have to look at certain musicians. They're looking, what can you do for me? How do you forward my career? And that's something you deal with in most places. But if you're on a certain level, you don't have to even deal with that. But it's trickier, especially like for younger musicians, less established than the ones that were in the the 80s, 90s, that are still the major guys now.
Dude, Patrick Bartley made a video about this like a couple months ago. One of the beauties of actually, not only for myself, but I'm seeing like this younger generation, like Emmett Cohen, right? He has this live streaming thing that he's been doing out of his studio, and he's got some like good money behind him, so he can get anybody that he wants, right? Plus, like placing in the Monk competition didn't really hurt, and he's always been like an incredible musician as well. I remember like seeing him because of a old roommate of mine took me out to Cecil's in New Jersey, and I remember Emmett and like a couple other people were like lived like right around that jam session, and they were like the young underage kids that were like hanging out with their parents and playing. Like, so I don't want to take away from the fact that he's immensely talented and immensely studied and stuff, but what beautiful thing of like this younger generation is that and because of COVID is that they've been able to adapt to like a more mainstream or the more like internet savvy social media thing. Like you're moving your series from like YouTube to an Instagram Live, like kind of running it like a TV show. Emmett's doing like a canned thing on YouTube. Patrick Bartley's like on Twitch and then taking those videos and putting them on YouTube and stuff. Chad Lefkowitz Brown has been able to market himself immensely. And have an incredible career. from stuff like that. And I mean, I'll see EJ Strickland on Facebook doing stuff like that. So in terms of a marketing and like business aspect, everything's boomed and you can make it from anywhere you want in the world. However, it's a lot of people don't realize that a lot of I think I talked about this in our last interview. It's like they've already had the funding, or they have a family, or they were able to like get themselves connected.
Yeah, I mean, Instagram Live is kind of cool because you do have the opportunity for someone to join your video, and if that particular person has more followers than you, more people are going to watch. I mean, like, I don't know if you saw it, but the Tyshawn Sori interview, there are about 30 people watching at any one point in time, which is pretty hip, And then you see the end of the video, about 200 people watching it, which is like pretty incredible that you can broadcast to 200 people from your comfort of your home, as if it's like a show and there's people watching. That's more hip than like YouTube, where you pre-record and you post it. Eventually there will be a lot of people watching it, but it's a different vibe to do an Instagram Live. It's also a lot easier. Like the camera is pretty good on like an iPhone, so as long as you're well lit, it's a lot easier than setting up a Zoom, sending a Zoom link.
Oh yeah. No, it's totally easier. And in terms of where I've gone in my own like progression, like I'm talking from kind of like my business account, Quasi Music, and because as a composer, you also kind of have to be multifaceted and stuff. Like if you're one of the lucky few who's able to like etch out a career and solely like make creative music, right? And like where you're getting arts grants, or you're in with that whole scene, and you're able to balance it with like a day job or a teaching gig and stuff like that, then you don't have, then great, mazel tov, Yofi, it's beautiful. But I mean, so where I'm actually going now is it's more of like trying to figure out how to use technology and stuff to better capture or create and present music. Like 90% of the stuff we hear in ad music, because I've always been trying slowly being on the periphery of getting into like media stuff and sound effects and things like that, because it's a whole different mindset than like when you're playing over standards and things. Because I mean,
a lot of times technology, you're right, it's technology, but like all it takes is like one really, really, really famous person. That's what my goal is, to interview somebody on that level, one really famous person, and then your channel could blow pretty big. Like if I were to get
like Ron Carter,
if I were to get Lady Gaga, or if I were to get, I'm in the works for George Clinton, maybe a hip hop guy like Snoop Dogg, someone like that, big enough that then your channel will go, and then you can work from there,
Bro, make sure you have some money to pay them for a press performance, because once you get to like that level, your name and image is it's marketable. It's like that's your company, that's your brand. Like Tommy Hilfiger has that little logo that goes like over their pockets or on their on their tabs. In order to use it, you have to pay for the intellectual property right, or where you buy the shirt, quote unquote. So it's like, I mean, I hope you get it. I'll be watching that.
I mean, I'm in the works right now with my good friend Edward. He will be like kind of my cameraman, so to speak, for the Montreal Jazz Festival this year. And that's a good place where you can meet these major stars, because sometimes they'll come and visit. They're not even performing in the festival. And if you have a press pass, you have more opportunity. The thing is, like, not to get too carried away in these things. To do a proper, good job on an interview or an interview series, you need to do your research. You need to take at least a day or so to research this person and know what you're talking about. Because I've been in those situations where the person and the opportunity presented itself, and I didn't know what I was talking about, and you can get chewed out,
Oh yeah, I've been there too, and it's what the more famous the person is, the easier it is to find stuff on them. But you also, like, even on your YouTube series, you've got people like Eric Wyatt, where you kind of have to, like, it's a whole folklore kind of deal where you have to go and you have to hang out at the spot. You have to go and talk to
Yeah,
people
you have to
that
go
don't.
and it's like that's why like I'm not gonna brag about my interview series, but like none of these new people that have come up doing interviews could come anywhere close to what I've done because I actually was there. Some of them are now doing interviews over Zoom, and there's even like I'm not gonna say their name, but they're like, "Oh yes, I'm the premier podcast series." I'm like, dude, 10, 11 years ago, I was one of the first doing it. I will give props to like Brian Pace of the Pace Report. He was doing it. Also, Brett Premack, he was doing it. I mean,
He is the jazz video guy.
That's really about it. Who was doing it back then? Now there's all these people doing it, and they're trying to replicate from a different time when you had to go around with a camcorder. Now there's all these options. You can use your phone. You can use a webcam.
That's what
things.
The 2 points I wanted to make is, like, one, I wanted to make a joke about, like, every dude. I mean, I think the classic stereotype now, oh God, like the stereotype of 2022 is that, like, every white guy has a podcast and they're trying to be like Joe Rogan, because, which ties into the earlier thing I made. Technology is absolutely amazing, and it's so much more affordable than, like, going in with the camcorder or dropping like 10 grand on mics. Like, you can 90% of the, like, if you're on TikTok and you go into like that ASMR craze, which is not even really done right because it's this whole recording process. They have like they get a Blue Yeti mic for like about $120, a dongle to plug into their iPhone and whatever, and then maybe like a separate camera or something. And they're spending maybe like $200-300 on their gear. It's like the algorithm, the coding is as good as it can be for like a device like that, because I mean we're essentially just walking around with mini computers at this point, and they just sit there, set it up on a stand, and like and do that. I mean, I've got a Blue Yeti mic actually.
I mean, the problem is not the quality of your camera. The problem is the quality of, are you good at interviewing, and can you do it properly? Because not everybody could do that. And the only way that you're going to get good at doing an interview is repeated interviews. I mean, I've done probably now almost 200 interviews. Not all of them are posted, but I'm good enough that like I could just do what I'm doing, But that's not to say I'm not perfect, Like there are some interviews that I've done that I like. In hindsight, I'm like, why the heck did I do this interview? I should have been more prepared. So that's now where if somebody wants to do an interview with me, and like it's like last minute, I'm not gonna trust, because I have to be able to do it justice.
Yeah, I mean, where I'm at is that just call me if you need the audio edited, if you want it treated, or you need theme music, because I'd rather I've always wanted to do stuff behind the camera. Like the biggest story that I'm reminded of that kind of suits like where I'm going with, which is why I've got this is the Sonny Rollins story. Where it was him and John Coltrane and Miles Davis's like quintet up in Harlem. And Sonny apparently was like, Miles was shy, and I guess Sonny was shy. And so Coltrane was on stage, and then Sonny would start playing, and he'd pull his horn out like from behind the curtain and things. And so, which kind of played into a general philosophy where it's like, I'd rather have somebody not know me by a physical appearance or an image, because everything's superficial now. It's so easy to Photoshop and edit everything. I'd rather just like have somebody know because I created a good product that made them laugh, or it's like, or even better, have this level of anonymity where like you write the theme music for like at least 20 different podcasts. Nobody really knows your name, but at the end of the day, you still, I mean, if the royalty system worked that well, you still have like some decent money, or you're just kind of like known, and you're just constantly working, writing like 10 seconds of music, which takes you like 2 hours now because of loops and how good technology is.
Well, to be honest with you, like there are other ways that doing your thing pays off, because like, I've done my interview series, and yes, I made probably over the course of the whole time that I made my interviews, I made maybe about $5,000 from the advertising. But if you were to really look at where it took me is like, I built my presence. Like I have an international base. Like I have a good way of speaking, and my current job, they were pretty impressed with my website and with my series. So probably put me above other candidates for a position now that I work in insurance. So like, in order to, just do what you're doing, be passionate about what you do, keep doing your thing, and it may pay off in other ways, even if it doesn't pay off financially right away.
Oh yeah, no, there's something to be said about that. Yeah, no, the whole reason I ended up actually creating quasi music and going the entrepreneurial route was because I think this was an officially, well, one, it's the name of like the publishing company through ASCAP, or my ASCAP account, and then I just kind of went legit with it because when everything was closed, like all the venues were closed, and you saw this whole shift of like going from live performance to everybody being a media creator or content creator and stuff like that. By the way, I'm still trying to find Jazz Talk on TikTok because I think you should get back on there with your series, because that's one way a lot of people are blowing up.
I actually have written off TikTok. It was too addictive for me, and I find it's a waste of my time. There's other uses of my time. I'd rather be on Instagram doing stuff than TikTok.
But what I'm saying though is like, because I got deep, really, really deep trying to figure out the structure. I've just got an analytical mind. It's like, I think you and Tyshawn were talking about this in the last interview about influence and stuff. And it resonated with me in that, like, when you say, oh, there's times when I can't listen to music or I got to change it up and listen to other stuff. The thing that grabs me the most is music that I've either never heard before or I can't execute. Therefore, I have something to work on, and because it's a curiosity of finding out how it works, like a machine. I mean, in all honesty, if I could do some stuff over again, maybe I should be an electrical engineer. But that raises the whole philosophical conversation of school and education and all this other stuff. And versus being a handyman and a craftsman, and we can skip that conversation. What I was going to say is like when when you look at the trends, again, because I'm in a couple music libraries. I just started up. I guess this website's actually fully taken off, pond5.com. It's for like stock sounds and music. So I've got a couple tracks on there. I mean, I've been writing like a lot more hip hop and again, you're being a media composer, or I'm a media composer. I'm composing for media, meaning I'm composing to try and get into like the sound library here in Instagram, which is a whole different world. And then because when you get into it, it's like you have your artistic mission and then you have the stuff that you do to like make money, and then you try and fuse both of them. And the new trend, and so you watch the trends. And what I'm watching the trend is that which goes back into the whole TikTok deal. It's like TikTok is when you develop a social media presence, you kind of have a TikTok, which is like considered a discovery app. Then you take one of the stories, put it up on Instagram, and then it links up to Facebook, or maybe you take like something you chopped up on Twitch. And the biggest thing I learned while promoting like my business page and stuff like that is that if you're going to post is that if you really want to work with a promotional agency and you want to make videos and stuff, it's a grind. You have to do it like every day, every other day if you want like serious results. And unless you can do lives every day, but as you know, like through your interview series where you did all your editing and stuff and all your production stuff, you have a template and then you just put in where the middle stuff is. So you can essentially take like a long video or something, chop it up into like 15, 30-second increments, and then you're good. Literally, if you want to promote a podcast or your YouTube series through it, if you do that and you just release like little 15-second snippets here and there from like an episode and everything, you can still be creating all these other episodes you're getting ready to release, but you promote it and you will be good for like at least a month, and then which will end up reducing the costs of like when you work with a production or like a promotion company. I mean, creating the content's easy, right? It's just keeping yourself engaged. And then after a certain point, you have X amount of followers. But this is actually a new thing that I saw, because we're still talking about social media and growing and getting like these huge people. When you look at like an actual celebrity now, I think you've got millions and billions of views, right? That's just it. Because the thousands of views is maybe you're considered like a micro influencer. I mean, the language tripped me up and it just blows my mind. So you have the micro influencer of like 15, 20 grand, you get that one way or another. I mean, most people end up paying for those many views. And then from there, you go up to like maybe about 50 or 100K. Then you're like an actual influencer, like you're getting a preferential treatment on these sites. You can maybe start to monetize things kind of like with YouTube. And then you go and you get verified at like 250, 500K. And then 1 million, it's like you're actually celebrity status. You know what I mean? And I think what's going on now is that because it's so easy to generate bots to get those likes and follows and like fluff up your numbers, the way you get real engagement and the way like the actual promotional companies work is that they have these huge chat rooms. So you go and you create a post, which is why you get like a week ahead of it. Or like 2 weeks ahead of it, you put up the post, you send it to the people, you send them like 10 videos, they pick out like 2 or 3 that they promote, and then those videos will get billions of views because they're posting them in this giant like group chat that people just kind of go and follow. It is weird. It's really, really weird, like how the business model and the infrastructure has gone to be like so casual. You know what I mean? Because it's so available, and you get so many people to create a company. Because as you know, like creating an actual LLC is like $250, and then you go file the name, file the paperwork, and you wait 3 weeks, right? I mean, like I said, this is what I did like during the pandemic when I tried to get my podcast going on. I got 1 season out of it, and like I've been working with filmmaker working on like micro budget films and doing some like really low budget campaign videos and stuff for like the past 5 years, as well as like playing jazz gigs, and which ties into the original thing about like the state about the scene. I didn't think that like the scene Seattle would recover as a scene. I knew that it was going to be like sparse and separated and only like highlight 10 people. I mean, so it's like you always have to do something else. And I guess everybody has like a golden age of inspiration to try and make it in. And if not, get a day job. You can still keep it going, because eventually, like as you know, like with your video, like the views build up, the money builds up over time. It's just like you come in, like if you're 18, you're coming in a gig, and unless you're like one of the like a super prodigy, you gotta like go and earn your dues, which means like playing a gig for like $25, $75, having to chase somebody down for that. And then eventually, like once you get known after a couple of years in a scene, $75, $100 is like the bare minimum that you like actually get called to do. And then the pay starts increasing, and you end up meeting people of higher profiles, whether they're A-list or B-list. And yeah, if you can get an A-list person, great. But usually you got to have like some payola to make it go. Or at least that's just been.
Let's say this is good discussion. I've got to work tomorrow, and I got to get ready for some things. I've been doing interviews now for like an hour and 20 minutes, so. We'll have another discussion. Thanks for being part of the series. People can check you out. Your name, Jeremy Shaskus, or Quasi Music.
Yep, just check it out. I've got some demo stuff. You can find it. This group called DCOM, D.com. It stands for. I'm trying to do this MF Doom thing where it's called Dr. Doodle's Cavalcade of Misfits. I got the 2021. I put out the EP Music Your Mother Wouldn't Like. I look back at 2020, silly stuff. I've got new stuff working out with a local band in Seattle called Dada Pop. We're gonna put out something next year, and then got some other production work. Trying to think. Oh, and Breaks and Swells is you can check them out on Instagram. We've got some decent festival gigs. I think the highlights are Timber Festival up in Carnation, Washington. And where is it? Who is it? Capitol Hill Block Party on the main stage. So things are coming. It's coming back. I mean, again, Live Nation. We just got out of a pandemic. We're Live Nation. If you weren't famous before the pandemic and you didn't become an influencer, it's a day by day thing. And yeah, hopefully society can revert. Hopefully monkeypox doesn't turn into the zombie disease.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right, my pleasure. I'll talk to you later, Jonah.